a Liverpool and, more importantly, Salah double game week is here. It's coming, and this is going to be a huge opportunity for anyone who hasn't used their triple captain yet. Like, genuinely, this is insane.
Do you know when it's going to be?
Yes, I do.
So, Mbeumo started to have shots again.
Yeah, scored the points, but, like, is he still a sell?
I think there's a little cheapy midfielder we could be thinking about.
Okay, then we mentioned cheap midfielders earlier, maybe Mbeumo replacements. Who are you thinking? Is there one guy in particular?
Hello, and welcome to the Game Week.
This is why you don't do the intros.
16th episode?
Yeah.
Of the Stick to FPL show, the Premier Fantasy League podcast.
Bravo. Well done, my friend. Yeah. Well,
how are you doing, Dad?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm a little bit concerned because we've given you the buttons to control the show today, and you're going to be leading the conversation, which I'm very fearful about. I'm not going to lie, but
we'll work it out.
Okay.
If it goes really badly, we'll just pass it back to you.
Okay.
We'll start again.
Fine. We're not going to start again.
We'll start again.
Fine. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, man. Not too bad. Kind of got away with one this game week.
Yeah, me too.
It's looking...
I cannot wait to talk about your team because I have a lot of questions.
Okay, we will go through it. But yes, how are you? How's your game week?
Yeah, I mean a green arrow, but I feel pretty fortunate myself. I think for a lot of people, particularly those who captained or vice captained Cole Palmer, probably got away with one a little bit this week. But we're recording on Monday, so there's still Wolves versus West Ham to play. So maybe a few more points there, but a green arrow nonetheless. And it's all thanks to that man, flat track bullion, the terrible defense of Spurs.
I mean, I was gonna talk to you about. I'll save that for later. But
Okay.
That's a very big game.
It's a big game, but it's not a difficult game for an attacker. Like, come on, Spurs are an awful defense. Like, they've got to be like some of the worst defenses in the Premier League at the moment. They're tragic, man.
He was playing when you said the flat track bully stuff. He was about to play United and Newcastle.
Yeah.
And your thinking was, despite it being sort of easier defenses, they're big games.
Yeah, but I said that Newcastle and Man United, he had an opportunity there, and I was really worried about Arsenal and Liverpool, really.
Yeah.
And but regardless, it was 2 penalties, but we'll leave that one. No, Palmer, against those weaker defenses, he absolutely makes them look silly.
Well, maybe during this time of gifts and time of, vice captain returns, there's another gift that we can see.
What's the gift?
Unwrap the gift of Christmas. 30 days free trial with Fantasy Football Hub. Use all their tools and everything that you need to save your season.
Wow, how festive is that? That is incredibly festive. What a generous offer from our good friends over at Fantasy Football Hub.
Who does these graphics? They're brilliant.
They are. Not me. I don't do these graphics. Fantasy Football Hub send them to me, and we put them in the podcast.
Well, thank you to the sponsors of the show. As always, again, another 30-day free trial offering, extending through the Christmas period. Got to make use of it, right?
Yeah, 30 days free trial when we've got this many game weeks all in a short period of time. You're not just getting 30 days worth of content. You're getting like extra content packed within the 30 days. It's a great time to get involved in the
15
free
game
trial.
weeks in 1 month. It's crazy stuff.
15 is it? Are you sure it's 15 game weeks? I feel like I counted them. I don't know if it's quite that many, but I'll take your word for it.
Let's take my word for it.
Fine, 15 game weeks the next month.
Alas. Story of the game week.
Yeah.
Poor game week 15 though. Was the madness that ensued in Merseyside.
Yeah.
And the Liverpool Everton game being called off.
The Everton Liverpool game, we have to say.
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah.
The Everton Liverpool game that was called off because of, some minor wins.
Minor wins?
And a bit of rain.
Storm Dara, is it?
Listen, they name things in England. You should name storms in England.
It's an Irish name anyway. What was it doing in England?
Yeah.
Send them back, those Irish storms.
Well, it's probably a bad political joke there.
Yeah,
but...
maybe. We'll leave that one, shall we? But yeah, no, the game called off a couple of hours before deadline. I think a lot of people missed that news because there wasn't much time to react to it, really. A lot of people went early on moves, and I feel bad for a lot of people because a lot of people were doing the Mbeumo downgrade to upgrade one of their maybe defenders to Trent. So not only would they have missed out on the Mbeumo points, but they would have brought in a Trent who didn't even play. So it's one of those crazy things that if you do go early on your transfers, even if it is early by a day or 12 hours in this instance, then sometimes that can screw you over. And I think that happened to a few people. But also, I think a few people benefited from it as well.
Yeah. It's one of those things. This season, a lot of people kind of got used to just, making an early transfer.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've been a little bit doing that sometimes, just trying to chase price rises sometimes. But optimal FPL playing is waiting.
It is. Yeah, mostly. I mean, you do lose team value if you play that way.
You do lose on team value, but when stuff like this happens, you don't get burnt, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, it used to be that we actually got press conference information accurately, but that's kind of gone down the toilet. But I feel like this was probably the first time this season that we've really seen an early transfer or early moves get punished. Badly.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Because it's someone who's bought Salah, someone who's bought Trent. A lot of people who've made moves for Mbeumo, out of Mbeumo, for example, may have not done them. So it's interesting, but alas, what has that given us?
Well, it's given us something new. We've got some new information here. So we are playing the guessing game a little bit at the moment, but we've got a rough idea of what might happen. So obviously, with Everton versus Liverpool being postponed, it needs to be rescheduled at some point, which is going to give us a double game week. Love double game weeks as FPL managers. And looking at things right now, the two most likely scenarios are, depending on whether Liverpool reach the EFL Cup final, the Carabao Cup, for sponsorship reasons, although they don't pay us, so we will call it the EFL Cup. So if Liverpool do reach the EFL Cup final, and bear in mind that Liverpool have been playing a weaker side in the Carabao Cup. They're too bothered about that competition, but they do have Southampton in the quarters, so let's see what happens there. But if they do reach the final, that means that it's quite easy to slot the Everton fixture into game week 25, which would give Liverpool a double game week of Wolves and Everton. We could also talk about what that would mean for Everton, if you want to. But
I mean, possibly. Maybe Calvert-Lewin's rocking form.
It has to be really rocking it.
Was the slot line, pun intended?
No, it wasn't. No, I'm more hilarious than I thought I was, clearly.
Very good.
But yeah, that would be, for Everton, that would be Crystal Palace away and Liverpool at home. So, to be fair, any game week which contains Liverpool is never a good one, even if it is a double. But yeah, anyway, so game week 25 is one of the more likely possibilities if Liverpool reach the EFL Cup final. Very nice double game week here, and this would be a perfect triple captain opportunity. You still have your triple captain, feel privileged, so long as Liverpool reach the EFL Cup final.
You should be supporting Liverpool.
Yeah, you should be, but specifically in the EFL Cup.
Yeah.
You want them to go all the way to the final. You can stop cheering for them after they reach the final, because they'll probably be playing against Arsenal, and we would prefer Arsenal to win. I think we would all agree on that one.
We's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the context a lot of people probably need here is game week 33 is going to be a double for a lot of teams.
Yes. Now, this is where things get interesting, because if Liverpool do not reach the EFL Cup final, it is more likely that the fixture would be rescheduled into game week 33, where Liverpool would face Leicester away and, of course, Everton away. And if that were the case, then this is a game week where loads of other teams will be having a double game week. You'd be looking at your bench boost, your free hit, your mystery chip in this week anyway, but it wouldn't benefit those who have the triple captain as much. So, on the inverse, if you've used your triple captain, like you and like me, we want Liverpool to get knocked out.
Boo! Come on, Southampton!
Southampton, do us a favour and knock Liverpool out of this tournament.
Yeah. I mean, Liverpool are just smashing it everywhere on the continent at the moment. So
yeah,
I'll be stunned if they don't make the final. But alas, I don't know about you, but I feel happy regardless. Not happy, but I feel content regardless. I picked up a Erling Haaland hat-trick, 17 points and a triple captain. Can't really ask for too much more than that.
Yeah.
Some of us didn't have the foresight.
No.
And the FPL dynamism.
FPL.
Pick up that triple captain hat-trick.
Look, in the game week where I triple captained Haaland against Southampton, he had more XG in that game than the one you did, which was against who? Ipswich? Game week 2. So, in terms of XG, I win. In terms of expected points, I'm the winner. So,
how many points did that get you?
We don't talk about that one right now. But no, for sure, in your scenario, I think you're in a good situation right now. But there are some implications here to the future of FPL. We know that Liverpool are going to have a minimum of one double game week now, which is good news. And it's going to be in addition to maybe some other.
Yeah.
And Liverpool will probably get more double game weeks because they're a team we expect to progress in the FA Cup, which often impacts double game weeks.
Not anymore.
Not at all.
No.
Oh, Carabao Cup.
It's Carabao Cup.
So if they go far in the Carabao Cup,
they would have 2.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, they'd have 2.
I need to check my spreadsheets.
Yeah, me too. I have spreadsheeted all of this, but only up to like the end of January.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite there on the later down the line stuff. I can't wait to get stuck in. To be fair.
I think there's one. I think it's just game week 29, for example, that gets impacted by the FA Cup.
Is it not like the semi-finals or something like that?
I think that is what causes the game week 33 double anyway.
Yeah.
So alas,
I
don't know. We'll find out soon enough. It's a long time to go, but
we will.
Game week 25 could be an interesting one if they do get through.
Indeed. One more quick note on the Liverpool potential double game week thing is it could technically happen in other areas. It can happen, I believe, in I need to get my spreadsheet out, but it could happen in like game week 20. 19 or 20, something like that. So it could technically happen reasonably soon, but it's quite unlikely that they'd throw it in that early.
Yeah, quite short notice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's already a busy period. Like the fixtures actually go quite crazy in January, more so than I thought they did. But we will be talking about that in a little bit later in the podcast. But yeah, that's the Liverpool situation. That's the Salah situation.
Interesting. Well, there is a player that we need to talk about who saved a lot of people's teams this game week, despite us saying that he sucks.
Okay, yeah, we did say that.
Our positionally maimed Bryan Mbeumo.
Here he is, yes. Big B, right? Yeah, I thought we were trying to approach this from a kind of balanced perspective. Because I know some people will say, yeah, like this game was an anomaly. He's been doing so bad for the last couple of months. This game is a one-off. But other people might say, well, this is him back to his old self. There's 2 ways of looking at that. And I think we can look at it in quite a balanced way and maybe just look at the whole season, how well he's done. So this is what when I was doing my research earlier and making the graphics, this is what I kind of discovered. So in game week 15 against Newcastle at home, he took 3 shots with 0.39 XG, 3 key passes with 0.36 XA expected assist. These are good numbers, genuinely good numbers. And we were discussing a little bit before the show that he started off in a wing back position, and then later on into the game he moved into a slightly more advanced position. So from the start of games, we probably still need to be worried about his positioning. You do wonder if Brentford aren't winning, would the same substitutes and changes be made? If they were drawing or they were 1 goal down, and Mbeumo probably doesn't move up front because more defensive players have been added to the lineup.
Yeah. My take here, so I see you've got the home and away starts. I think that is very misleading.
Do you think?
And the reason why is if you pull up what the actual fixtures at home and away were, their home fixtures have been brilliant. Their away fixtures have been horrid.
Okay. Right. Well, I did not actually consider this. All I know is that Brentford have been losing away and winning at home, and there's been a vast difference between the stats.
So I'll talk you through some of my thinking here, but take a look through those fixtures.
Okay.
But what we talked about last week was, is there going to be a positional change? The positional change could have been, so against these trickier opposition, Brentford play in a back 3. And he could have been either in that front 3, playing a less wide position because there'll be someone playing wing back, or he could get stuck in wing back. And we were saying, if there's a scenario where the formation doesn't change, we don't want him.
Yep.
If there's a scenario where the formation does change and he's at wing back, we also don't want him.
Yep.
Turned quite well from that. I think having watched the goal, right? The goal was brilliant, but it was like a transition goal. The ball was swung over to him on the break, and then he kind of dribbles a couple of players and gets a shot off. Quite a good, well-taken goal. Not the kind of goal that you want.
Yeah.
Right?
You want him like in and around the box poaching.
Yeah.
Or
Or at the
reliable.
very least, like running off the back of defenders quite frequently.
Yeah.
The assist that he got is exactly what you were saying. Visser came off and he went up front, and then you're thinking, okay, how likely is this to continue happening? So my issue with Mbeumo at the moment is when they're playing the trickier opposition, we now are in a scenario where he's not even in the front three anymore. He's playing wing back. Obviously, it's Mbeumo in wing back, so you're not going to get like a defensive player in there, but it is still a bit of an issue. And on top of that, he's playing more trickier.
Yeah. It is difficult. Like, there are obviously so many forward players at Brentford who are staking that claim for the front three. Like we saw Igor Thiago getting his first start. Wisser is obviously like on form, probably still the best attacker at the club. And Sharda came off the bench and scored. Carvalho started the game. So there's so many players who can play in the front three, but not so many who can play maybe in the right wing back position.
Yeah. It could be that he's sort of starting to pick up a more utility role.
Exactly. Because he can do well there for the team.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of other players who can score goals at the club.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one. And my take last week was like, this guy is a sell, but he's not high priority.
Yeah.
Right? There's other things that you can do. And I benched him.
Yeah.
Right? I got away with it, obviously. But we still know who Mbeumo is. We know that he's capable. We know that no matter where he's playing, he is going to be capable. And it wasn't going to be a scenario where he just never took shots.
Of course.
For a long-term period.
Like he was never going to return again.
But I wonder, with the next four, is he a higher priority sell?
Well, we've got Chelsea away next, followed by Nottingham Forest at home, Brighton away, and Arsenal at home. The best fixture there is probably Brighton away. And you've mentioned that maybe home and away isn't as big of a factor as maybe I thought. But I feel like historically, even like last season, Brentford are kind of known as a poor travelling team. So I definitely appreciate that he has played more difficult fixtures away from home, and the team has in general. But I don't know, I still feel like Brentford are always going to be a team that are, maybe it's not as big of a difference as I thought. There's going to be like a more significant drop-off home versus away than maybe the average team in the Premier League. Similar to Newcastle, they're the same kind of scenario. They're poor travellers, do very well at home. So with the best fixtures away from home and the worst fixtures at home, I don't like it, man. I think he's still a sell if you can find someone reliable. But that, again, is still our problem that we've been speaking about for weeks. Yes, you probably sell Mbeumo, but only if you can find someone to replace him with. And is there anyone yet?
I'm not sure if he's made the running order today, but there is a player who is on a lot of people's radars at the moment.
Depends who it is. He might be on the running order.
I will trust you. I will move on.
Okay.
See what we have coming up next.
Well, we've got fixture congestion next.
We've got fixture congestion. The theme of December.
Yeah, but here's the big thing. It's actually not bad for the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
From like the last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of rotation, a lot of like disappointment. For the next couple of weeks, for a lot of teams, that's not going to be the case. We've actually got a decent period of time between fixtures for a lot of teams. Now we've got like after the midweek games this week in the European fixtures, if you haven't got any European fixtures and if you haven't got any EFL Cup, then actually next like month is pretty decent. Pretty decent for you. So teams like maybe Bournemouth and Brighton and Crystal Palace to a degree, Fulham if you fancy some Fulham players soon, Newcastle players are not too bad here. It's all pretty good. Some concern about Arsenal, but I was checking this out, and Gameweek 19 is really weird because basically most teams play at the weekend in Gameweek 19, but for some reason Arsenal versus Brentford is played on the Wednesday of that week. I'm sure there is a good reason for that. I'm sure someone in the comments will let us know. But yeah, for some reason that is the only fixture that is not kind of on, I think, Sunday and some fixtures on Monday, but Arsenal play on Wednesday. and Brentford, of course.
And then again on the weekend?
And again on the weekend. So actually, Arsenal and Brentford have the shortest Premier League fixture turnaround between game week 19 and 20. Everyone else has got a nice, decent break between those two game weeks there.
I mean, my concern at the moment is about Arsenal rotation because a lot of other clubs have been hit.
Yeah.
But Arteta just hasn't been rotating.
He doesn't. When he's got players available, he doesn't rotate. He's not that guy.
He's going to have to at some point. He's literally going to have to at some point.
I mean, maybe in the cup competitions more so than the Premier League.
So people like Timber, Saliba, Ødegaard, Saka, obviously Ray as a goalkeeper, so maybe not him. Those kind of key players have been playing midweek weekend for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Got another Champions League fixture coming up.
Monaco, yeah.
And then they've got Gameweek 16.
Yeah, against Everton at home.
And I wonder, can they physically do that?
Well, I would imagine that if Timber was going to get a rest, it would be during this period. But I would say it's more likely to be against Monaco or Crystal Palace in the cup games than it is in the Premier League.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant if some of them got in the Champions
League. But you're quite right to be a little concerned as a Timber owner. But like, Saka's not going to get rotated. Ødegaard's going to be fine. Saliba, Gabriel, Raya, they're not going to get rested ever. They'll just, as long as they're fit, they'll play every game available to them.
They obviously all have the EFL one as well. I just wonder whether these next two games are going to be too much for them. Because they've just played midweek, just played weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to play midweek weekend again. I just wonder, is that just too much?
There'll probably be some learnings from the Champions League game, to be fair. I would certainly say if you find that Timber plays 90 minutes against Monaco, there is very much reason to be concerned there. But you could take the optimistic approach and say, oh, well, Crystal Palace in the EFL Cup is a possible rotation opportunity for him. But it also depends on the fitness of players like Calafiori. I mean, if he's not available again, then Timber might be required to play at left back.
Can play, right?
Well, Zinchenko can play there if he's available. Jakub Kivior if
to be fair,
Gabriel's available.
Against Everton, you could probably do worse than Zinchenko in that game.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going to buy Zinchenko, are you?
No, I don't mean as a problem for Timber.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Because
as in playing Zinchenko in that particular game.
In that particular game.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's interesting. We obviously highlighted that Arsenal are a team that don't rotate, but it's just concern. Like Chelsea aren't a rotation team because they play B team, A team.
Yeah.
But even then, we saw it. Jackson got a rest. You know what I mean? Gusto didn't start one of these games. Liverpool, we saw the similar things. Trent got rotated in the last game.
Yeah.
Obviously not Everton.
He was coming off the back of an injury, to be fair, Trent. So I understand that a little bit more. And Slot also told us.
Yeah.
In the press conference, which is always useful.
Man United, obviously, Amarim's just rotating like crazy regardless.
He's going to go mad until he figures out his best team, which could be weeks, it could be months.
Be here 2 seasons from now.
Do you think it will last that long? But no, I think Ahmad has made a decent claim for one of those starting 11 places. But yeah, certainly Arsenal, Chelsea, Chelsea kind of, yeah, I guess so. Liverpool, Man United and Spurs. These are the teams that still do have a very busy fixture period. But for a lot of these other teams, actually, it's starting to look a little bit brighter. And I think the worst of it is behind us for most teams. The exception would be some of these bigger teams who play Champions League and the EFL Cup.
And we just got to be prepared for a crazy game.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, it's the same as the midweek we just had in game week 14.
Yeah.
Right? And to be fair, the knock-on effect on 15 as well, where we didn't see Watkins, for example. There is going to be a little bit of rotation here and there.
That was
yeah, for sure brutal, because a lot of people thought, okay, no Salah. Watkins is probably the second best captain against Southampton, and he doesn't start. That's off the back of Watkins played like 65 minutes the midweek. It was like, oh yeah, he should be good for minutes.
Yeah,
I thought Rodgers was going to be benched.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people thought that, and I think the whole Palmer captains. I don't know why so many people ended up captaining Palmer, given that Saka had Fulham, Watkins at Southampton, but a lot of people still defaulted to Palmer.
Yeah,
but just Saka and Watkins captain so lucky.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. You know, some people captain Jackson as well, for example. Again, decent captain pick, absolutely brutal.
Didn't come through.
Yeah, it was a rough game week. It's one of those games. I know, yeah, I benefited from it a bit, but like it's one of those game weeks you don't really like because if you're putting a lot of effort into FPL, and by the way, anyone listening to this podcast is by definition putting in effort to FPL. Like most people don't even bother looking at the app more than 10 minutes before the deadline. 5 minutes on a Friday, and that's their lot. And you nerds are listening to FPL podcasts. Get a life.
How could you?
Yeah, get a life, guys. Come on.
Bloody.
We're even worse. We're making one. But regardless, it is one of those weeks where you feel that the skill factor is reduced. And even if you benefit from it, you want FPL to be skill-based, really. It was one of those ones, it's not luck, really. Like, a lot of the players scoring well were like Raul Jimenez, like, against Arsenal, like,
Mbeumo.
who would have come off people's bench. Mbeumo, who would have come off people's bench. Yeah, a lot of, I don't know, it seemed like a lot of the players who did, Saliba as well. Why is he scoring goals? He scored off
Back.
He's backside to backside, pretty much. But yeah, scored off his backside. People would have brought him in thinking, yeah, I reckon he's got a bum goal in him every week. And then the ball just falls to him in the corner, and for some reason, Robinson's playing him onside. I mean, I'm not complaining. I wanted Arsenal to score, obviously.
Have you seen Arsenal's open play XG?
I don't want to talk about
games.
I don't want to talk about it.
It's a bit shocking.
Just pick Arsenal aerial threats and set piece takers. We'll put it that way for FPL terms.
It's a bit shocking.
Is Rice in the conversation?
Because of his corners.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to be at this point.
Yeah.
He has to be at this point. Let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Can you read that?
I can.
You can?
I can read it very well.
Oh, nice.
So I'm glad you brought this up because there is a conversation to be had at the moment about midfielders because a lot of people like us, well, not like you, but like me and others with Mbeumo in their team, for example, are considering trying to move on.
I mean, even with Bruno myself, I'm thinking about it and looking at ways that might be possible.
Because he's not even a 90-minute man anymore.
Well,
Came off?
He did, and he has done. But that just gives me more confidence that he'll play the next game.
Yeah,
so I like it. But
Bruno always play the next game and play 90 minutes.
We spoke about this before, that like 90-minute men are now going to be 70-minute men, but consistently 70-minute men. So
not Cole Palmer.
No, apparently not.
But alas, here are a list of midfielders.
And these are all of the midfielders below the premium price tag.
And I'm glad you've done that. I don't want to see Saka on this list.
No.
Right? Or Son.
We know Saka, Son, Palmer, Salah.
We know who they are.
We know who they are. We know they're brilliant.
We want to get some money out of our team. We can go for maybe a trend.
Yes.
So I'm going to go through this list. This is over how many game weeks?
This is 6 game weeks. I like 6 game weeks for attacking potential, so I've gone with that.
So this is ordered by expected points over the last 6 game weeks. Top of the list is Noni Madueke, then Clovert, who obviously had a bunch of penalties. Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting. Out of all of the players sub-premium in midfield, Enzo is 3rd per start for expected points, which obviously factors in, attacking potential clean sheets, minutes, what have you.
Come back to him.
Okay.
Trossard, Bruno, Erdegaard, Tavernier. Is that Ismail Assar?
Yeah.
Which Assar is that?
Ismail Assar, yeah.
Anthony Gordon, Jared Bowen, and then some fella called Thomas, followed by Mitoma, Johnson, and McGinn. Now,
that's Thomas Partey.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. and just off the bottom of this list, we would see Ahmad, by the way. So he's very close to making this list, but not quite.
So is McGinn, Semenyo, and then Ahmad?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Ahmad for me is not an option.
No?
No. You can't have a wing back who's not even nailed.
I think he's close to nailed for his price tag. You got to consider price tag, man.
Okay, so let's consider price.
Yeah, there's a better option, isn't there?
Here's the thing. All right, I'm gonna skip Madueke because he's just not a pick at the moment.
Yeah, well, let's speak about him very briefly.
Okay, go ahead.
So recently there were some comments about him not training very well at the moment, and that's why he has been in and out of the team. I think he's going to have an opportunity with Pedro Neto suspended. I can see him coming back into the team, but he is a minutes risk player.
He is. And Sancho's just getting better and better at the moment, so he's kind of locking up a bit of a finger spots.
Yeah, I think good chance of it being Sancho and Madueke in Gameweek 16, but after that, more difficult to say.
Kluivert's interesting. I don't hate him.
Pen merchant,
but sometimes you need that.
Yeah, but how often is he going to get 3 penalties in a game? Like, that's crazy.
But he's still returning outside of that. He's still like 2.67 shots a game.
Should we have a look quickly at his non-penalty? Yeah, that is your phone, but I mean, we are in the middle of a podcast, Tim, so I think it can wait. Right. So yeah, his non-penalty XG over the past 6 game weeks is should we do per start?
Go on then.
0.15. I mean, Mbeumo would make that look silly.
I might have to.
No.
Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a bit of foreshadowing, guys. A bit of foreshadowing for you.
Anyway, Kluivert, decent. He's not brilliant, but he's decent. Look, he's on penalties. He's got assist threat.
That also always helps.
Well, no, apparently he doesn't have assist threat. But
not really.
He's an interesting option. I think obviously that a lot of that is weighted towards 3 penalties. But Mr. Enzo Fernandez, 5.17 expected points over the last 6 games per start.
Yep.
He's getting 90 minutes every game with them.
Uh-huh.
Despite the fixture congestion.
Yep.
He's playing in a very advanced role.
Yep.
And he's 4.9.
Yeah. And this guy's putting up like 0.6 plus expected goal involvements per start. So that's like legitimately Saka level numbers.
Not that great for them.
Fair enough. He gets results, so
corners don't count.
They do literally all count the same.
Well, Enzo, is he an actual FPL pick?
I think he has to be.
Or is this just one of those just hype trains that's kicking off because he's got like 5 attacking returns in the last 6 games or something like that?
Maybe more. Well, in the last 6 games, yeah, but in the last 4 games, we started each of the last 4 games, and he has 5 attacking returns in those 4 games.
So
crazy. 90 minutes every time.
Is this a bandwagon or is this a legitimate option?
Well, the underlying numbers are good. The price is good. And I think the big distinction with Enzo is his minutes, because we're wondering, if he could be out of the team just as easily as he is in. Players in form are less likely to get dropped. But looking through his fixtures, he plays Brentford, Everton, Fulham, and Ipswich in the next 4. I looked through these games, and I think Fulham is the game he probably gets benched in because Fulham, good side, and I think Chelsea more likely to want to play a Caicedo, Lavia, a kind of double pivot there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, Fulham at home is possibly the game you wouldn't want to play him for anyway. So if he's part of a rotation with a Rodgers, Ahmad, whoever else you've got in your team, João Pedro maybe, then I think we can expect him to play in some of these easier fixtures and actually bench for the tougher fixtures, which if in a rotation player, that's exactly what you want.
So I was speaking to a Chelsea friend of mine, and what his opinion on this is that Enzo will play, and when he does play, in that scenario, it will require Caicedo being at right back or Lavia not being in the team.
Yes.
Which is a bit of an ask, because you're saying 2 of Enzo, Lavia, and Gusto will start, which I think puts him in the problematic window.
Does it against teams like Everton and Ipswich? I think you could be pretty confident of a start in those games.
You'd want Gusto to start in those games.
Yeah, but Lavia probably drops out in those games, right?
So then Lavia could drop out. I don't know. I don't know how defensively solid they are without Lavia and Caicedo in the team. Because when Caicedo plays, he can invert. So the manager clearly does like having Caicedo and Lavia at the base of it.
Yeah.
So, but then you lose your right back impetus at that point because you don't have Gusto on the pitch. So I'm not so sure he's as secure from a minutes perspective, even in the easier fixtures, as has been made out.
Okay.
The last 4 games have made it look like he's definitely very much a nailed player. He's also one of the captains, by the way.
Yep.
But I'm not so sure. I'd be concerned that he'd drop out in the games that you need him, because he's a 4.9 million option, which means you're probably going to bench him for like a Rodgers and stuff like that on games where you're happier with the fixture, particularly if you've got a Palmer and a Jackson, or Palmer and a Gusto, something like that. So I wonder, could this be a little bit of a red herring? I don't know. I don't want to like put my sail in the, whatever they say, plant my flag in the hill or whatever.
I've not heard of that one before, but I like it.
Well,
you know what? Plant your flag on the hill.
I don't want to say he's a bad pick, because I'm considering him.
Okay.
And he's 4.9 million.
It's so cheap, man.
That's the thing. Even if you get burnt, you're not going to be that pissed.
Yeah.
Particularly if it allows you to get like a Trent or something.
For sure.
But I don't know, man. The minutes are a little bit concerning for me. The starts are a little bit concerning for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, this can go wrong very quickly. We know that. But like, this is the guy that Chelsea signed. This is the guy Chelsea paid all this money for. This is what they wanted from him, and he's doing so well. He would have to have I feel like he'd have to have a couple of pretty shocking games to suddenly be booted out of the team. And, you know, again, I do feel like he is more likely to play in some of the easier fixtures rather than some of the tougher fixtures. So I don't think it's maybe worth going there, as long as it allows you to, you know, do something with the money. Like, I'm not saying just trade Mbeumo for Enzo and just leave the money in the bank. Yeah, that's kind of pointless. But if that allows you to upgrade like a Nori, who seems to get 0 points every week from now until the end of time, you know, if you're trading in him for a Trent, like, that's a pretty big upgrade.
Yeah.
So,
or a Rico Lewis or a Mikalenko.
Or selling these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Somehow I've got all 3 of them.
Well, Nori, Rico Lewis, and
Mikalenko.
Hey, Rico Lewis served you well. He scored a goal.
He got a red card.
He also scored a goal.
Got a red card.
He outscored a lot of my defenders, regardless.
Fair dude.
Yeah, okay, but we're kind of on the fence with Enzo. All in all, them. But like, he's the best of a bad bunch. Like, there's still no good midfielders, sub-premium midfielders. There's still none of them. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, it's a tricky environment, and I think you can do worse. A lot of people who have an Mbeumo, for example, this is where, again, I feel like you don't gotta force it. You know what I mean? Like, Mbeumo is better than basically everyone on that list, possibly bar Enzo, if Enzo does get the minutes.
Well, I mean, numbers suggest otherwise, but I mean, for the sake of making a transfer, you're probably not going to do it. Like, you can imagine Mbeumo coming back to form just as well as you can imagine those players sustaining their form.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. We've got some fixtures and good run of fixtures, because it feels like it's a little bit of a point in the season where a lot of teams have some fixtures coming up.
Yeah, and I put the fixture difficulty ratings here. I've put them via defensive. We can talk about it from attacking and defensive, but I put the difficulty ratings by defensive potential, I guess, for defenders, I guess, clean sheet potential. So yeah, we've got a scenario where some teams have really nice fixtures, particularly in the short term. I really like Arsenal's next 3 for a defender in particular. Everton, Palace, Ipswich. These are like 3 of the worst attacks in the league.
Yeah.
Really nice. Like, I am jealous of those with double Arsenal defense right now. And I'm thinking about finding a way to do it myself, because I think it's really, really nice. So if you've got Gabriel, pray we get some news on him. But add a Raya, add a Timber to that. No.
You don't like bum goals?
I don't like bum goals, no. Honestly, if he could make a promise he's going to fart the ball into the net every week between now and the end of time, brilliant.
Oh, you say FPL is a game of skill, but you don't make these moves, man. I don't understand.
Because this is the most skill-less goals.
Listen.
Like, it's like, you know, when we talk about luck, we always use an example of the ball bouncing off someone's bum and going in the back of the net. We use that as the unsustainable goal.
When we're talking about a team that are so brilliant at set pieces, did you put yourself in a position to get lucky?
No, I'm not having that. Because for Saliba, before game week 14, he hadn't taken a single shot in the entire season.
That's a great stat.
It is a great stat. The first shot he had all season, it came off his bum and found the back of the net. Like, you can't.
He scored last week.
Well, yeah, that was after his bum goal.
When was the bum goal?
Bum goal was last week. The second goal he scored was like this weekend.
I agree.
Yeah. But again, that was, I would say, pretty fortunate. The corner kind of came in, Havertz knocks it back, and Saliba has the most open goal in the world, but it's only because all of the Fulham defence had stepped up to play on offside, other than Robinson, who had played Saliba on, allowing him to the most open goal that you can ever imagine. So it's like, I don't see these things as sustainable. People enjoy your Saliba points, don't get me wrong, but if you're expecting him to get these opportunities every week between now and the end of time, you are sorely mistaken. Much like Saliba's sore bum having...
Enough bums. Listen, so here's an interesting thing that I'd like to point out. So first of all, this Chelsea fixture run is absolutely obscene between now and game 20. There's basically no bad fixtures in it. There's 2 tricky defensive fixtures. I mean, I don't know why Bournemouth is in green, but that should probably be grey. But even then...
Bournemouth don't score goals. Well, I mean, they do, but they're terrible finishes.
Personally, that's a great.
Fine.
But either way, there's some really good fixtures there.
Yeah.
I'd love to point out a brilliant little rotation between our friend Enzo and Mr. Rogers.
Okay. Yeah.
It's game week 17. You bench Rogers.
And you play Enzo against Brentford.
Everton.
Wait, I was looking at 16. Sorry.
In 16, you can possibly bench Enzo.
No, I'd play Enzo against Brentford at home over Rogers against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, this has the defensive tilt on it, doesn't it?
So, because you got to remember that Nottingham Forest are the greatest defence to ever exist ever in the Premier League.
Except against Manchester United?
Yeah.
Maybe Amorim is the greatest attacker.
Maybe.
Can I also say, please, I want my flowers for pointing out that Man United defence would get worse.
Yeah, no, fair. They've been
horrid.
But it's like mistakes. Like, the mistakes haven't cleared up since before. They just make so many silly mistakes. It's terrible. Like, Onana, how he's not saved that one of the goals, I have no idea.
I was praising him just last week. How much better he's been.
He's had a great season. And then, like, Martinez, his cover at the far post was, just, again, like, oh my word, man.
What do you expect, though?
Yeah.
But I think your point from this graphic is largely around which defenders we should be targeting.
Yeah,
right?
mostly.
Obviously, Arsenal is a big one here, but I think Chelsea are still a very interesting one. Once we get to my team, there's sort of some scenarios that I want to discuss. But which teams stand out to you?
From a defensive point of view, I think Arsenal look good now. Liverpool look good in 2 game weeks' time. Get Fulham and Spurs out of the way, and then go all in on that Liverpool defence. Another defence that looks really good in a couple of weeks' time is Crystal Palace. But again, next few aren't great for them. And then we got kind of the usual suspects like Man City, but do we go there? Not sure. You mentioned Chelsea. I don't know if I'm convinced by them defensively. I think they are error prone.
Data's good though.
The data is good, but data can't account for individual errors, and they are making them defensively. I mean, it's kind of similar to Brighton, a team who do, again, another team who makes a lot of individual errors. So despite their reasonably good run of fixtures, you just can't trust them for clean sheets, unfortunately.
I mean, are we calling bad studs errors?
What, for Chelsea?
Yeah.
Yeah, but also I don't think Sanchez has been playing particularly well. But like that, the bad studs was errors. Like, come on.
But that's not like, the shoes are in the bin now.
Yeah, okay. I hope so.
He posted about it.
Did he?
He actually put them in the bin.
Oh, that's class. Yeah, Kukurea slipping around, man. I'm glad the boots are in the bin. Yeah, because that weren't great. But yeah, Sanchez as well. If Jorgensen maybe comes into net, maybe things improve. If Lavio and Caicedo play together without Enzo, maybe things improve, but I don't think we want that. Looking at Enzo. Maybe there's potential, the data's there, but like it's the same with Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Aston Villa, the data's there, but you don't trust them for clean sheets. So yeah, I feel like you have to use the data with nuance to a degree.
Yeah.
But I guess there's potential for things to improve. We can say that at least.
Well, at least we know Arsenal definitely a place to invest at the moment.
100%.
Chelsea, whether or not you believe it, is your choice. And then maybe a couple of weeks from now, we're talking Liverpool. A lot of people are going to be looking at Trent this game week. Is it the right time?
I think it's an option right now. But because he has the attacking potential, we don't necessarily need the good fixtures to get something from them. Oh, there is one more team before we move on to mention. Bournemouth. If you're looking for someone non-Arsenal Liverpool this week, Kirkes looking nice right now. West Ham, Man United, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Everton in the next 5. There's enough decent fixtures there. He has attacking potential as well. He's in my team, and he created the most insane chance for Tavernier. It was an open goal. I can't believe it.
He's looked really good recently.
Who, Kirkes?
Yeah.
Unreal, man.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah, and like, because Bournemouth miss a lot of chances, don't score an insane amount of goals, but they have been putting up some of the best defensive numbers in the Premier League. I think they're 4th or 5th in the last 10 game weeks. Because of that, Kirkes is more prone to bonus points if Bournemouth are to keep a clean sheet. We saw that against Spurs. Kirkes didn't need to get any attacking returns. He only needed to create a couple of chances. Didn't even need to have a great game from an attacking point of view to hoover up a couple of bonus points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Kirkes is really keen on him at the moment. 4.6 million and rising.
Yeah.
So get on him. And one more thing on Kirkes, rotates beautifully with Daniel Munoz. So I'm thinking Kirkes for now. Wait until game week 18, 19, probably 19. Trade someone like Ait Nouri for Munoz, because that's a nice time to switch that around. And then you can just rotate Munoz and Kirkes. Something like 15 game weeks.
Damn.
You've got a decent rotation there. You have to play one of them against like Manchester United or Aston Villa like, a couple of times throughout that entire run. But outside of that, it's just good fixture after good fixture.
That's super.
There you go.
A lot of people are looking for defenders, so that's super helpful. Let's move on.
Yeah.
These are some of the levers top of your list. That's quality.
No, right. We'll talk about him some more if you want.
So I'm guessing this is over a 6 game week range as well. So expected goal involvement, this is ordered by in the last 6 game weeks. I'm presuming Saliba's one is very high because of the huge chances that he had.
Yes, because he's had 2 balls bounce off him essentially for open goals.
Yeah. So talk to me then. I mean, this is still 1.98 XG, 2 goals scored in the last 6 game weeks.
Yeah.
2 key passes.
And now, in fairness, like Saliba, even though he hasn't been shooting too much this season, he has been creating a tiny bit. It's not like he has 0 attacking threat, but his goal threat is typically really low. And I think is this one of those examples where you have to use data with context. 3 shots for a defender is never good. Unless they can sustain it with a lot of key passes, but we're not seeing that either. Centre-backs, we usually see more shots, less key passes, and full-backs, more key passes, less shots. Saliba, really, even though he's got the XG, he hasn't got the shots to back it up, which makes me feel this is not sustainable. We've spoken about that enough, though. But the second player on this list is Daniel Munoz, and I think he's really the first player on this list after we apply context. Because 10 shots in 6 game weeks is
very high.
Really good. All 10 inside the box, which is rare for a fullback to get that many shots within the box. And also a couple of key passes here as well, 5 key passes. So decent XG, decent amount of shots, decent big chances, key passes there as well. He's ticking every single box. And a lot of people went for Munoz game week 1, myself included, because you did as well. Because of what we saw last season, which was Munoz essentially plays as like an inside forward on that right-hand side.
Yeah.
And he's doing it again.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant to see. In addition to that, Crystal Palace are improving defensively week on week. They're improving as a team and their cohesion, getting more players back from injury. We've seen Eze come back. Wharton is, I think, maybe a week away as well, which again, another one of their top players. There is so, and the fixtures are about to turn really nice for Crystal Palace as well. I genuinely love Munoz as a player to keep a incredibly close eye on.
I think that's just it. I think he's still a player to keep a close eye on. I still wouldn't go for him now.
That said, like players with attacking potential or defenders with attacking potential, like his next fixture is hang on, I don't want to get this wrong. I think it's Brighton, but yeah, it is Brighton.
And then United.
Brighton, and then Arsenal, and then Bournemouth. So Arsenal is obviously a stinker game, but like Brighton, if you're an attacker playing Brighton, you know, if you were Eze playing Brighton, you'd say, yeah, nice.
I know, but it's not. It's still a defender, right? And I mean, he's got 2 goals in this last period. I think they've both come in the last 2 game weeks as well, haven't they? Or at least 2 in the last 3.
2 and 3, yeah.
Yeah. So he's interesting, and I think we'd have to be a little bit careful of the recency bias here. He obviously is very attacking, but I don't know. Timing is still important. He's not gonna. It's not very likely for him to get another 2 in the next 2, and if he's not getting 2 in the next 2, talking about a couple of blanks most likely.
Yeah.
So I think just adding that in, and that's why I was cold on him before, right? Because I didn't think that they were gonna get cheats. So he's decent. We're in a space where there's not that many good defenders,
particularly cheap defenders,
especially because like the Everton boys, the fixtures have run out.
Yeah,
Nouri hasn't been brilliant, but he's still got good fixtures, so you don't have to force that. You know what I mean? So he's an option, but I don't know. He's not top of my list. Put it that way. I think there's a gentleman who's about 5 from bottom, who's top of my list.
Who's that?
And it's Malo Gusto.
Oh, you're still on Malo Gusto?
I'm still on it.
But have you not had enough proof that he's not like nailed on to really put you off this guy?
He's missed 145 minutes in a very fixture heavy period.
And he didn't play against Villa in 13 either. We didn't start against them. So he's only started game week 14 out of the last like 4 game weeks.
No.
He didn't start against Spurs. He played against Southampton in the midweek like second string team. And then didn't play against Aston Villa in 13 at the weekend.
Listen, you be careful about how you talk about him.
He didn't play against Leicester, but I do think he was injured for that one.
He played 45 against Spurs. Played Southampton. He played 4 minutes against Villa. He played 0 against Leicester. Was he available?
I think he was injured for that game.
So, look, I still think he's a decent option. I still believe. Maybe he's getting a little bit delusional at this point, but I do believe in Gusto. I think he's first choice, and I think when they're playing the easier fixtures, it's much more likely for him to play instead of Caicedo at right back.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So
as a rotation guy, maybe, but
I need him to play.
Yeah, I know what your team looks like. So I'm thinking, can you rely on Gusto? You're in your attack is beautiful. Your defense,
I think. You know what? Let's move past this.
All right, fine.
Before we do go on to my team, let's talk about the kind of curse that I'm carrying. That I could somehow pick 2 players, and the gods have smited me so hard. They said, "Screw the whole game." They were like, there's a storm coming.
There's a storm coming and it's aimed at you.
Call off the entire game. I picked 2 players.
Recap from Game Week 15's episode. Sim said, I'm going to go for Darwin Nunez as my differential of the week. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, he might not play. And you were like, okay, can I have a second player? I was like, no. Comment section was like, yeah. And so we agreed that you could also have Gakpo. That way you have a guaranteed player to start.
I love how you always take the really key, crucial detail out of my stories.
Not always, yeah.
The thing was, I said I want Darwin, but if he doesn't start or gets sub, I think we landed on 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If he gets less than 10 minutes, I get a substitute because I was picking a player who
was a bit dodgy.
A little bit dodgy from a minutes perspective.
Yeah.
And someone in the chat very kindly recommended Gakpo. But alas.
It doesn't matter. You can't have either because neither plays.
Game just called off.
It's almost like a prophecy each week.
Yeah.
At this point.
Strand Larson is blanking, so let's hope.
Yeah.
May that continue.
Well, I mean, yeah, my differential of the week is Strand Larson. No idea how many points he's scored because we're recording this. Actually, now during the game. Game has kicked off now. So, yeah, let's see how he does. I'm, to be honest, not expecting much. But in my defense, like, I picked him because I picked him last week and I was trying to do a thing.
Well, it looks like you have failed to continue this trend.
I'm not doing it again. No.
Tell me about your differential.
Because Darwin and Gakpo are terrible picks.
Gakpo is a great pick.
The Gagpo's not bad.
Gakpo's a great pick.
Darwin was terrible, though. Yeah, my differential of the week for Gameweek 16 is going to be Sancho. I think his minutes look good with Neto being out. Obviously, he... well, I mean, when he's played, he's like... Actually looks all right. Pretty decent. He scored, obviously.
Great goal. Great goal against Spurs.
We know he's a talented football player. And the fixture is against Brentford. He's 1% selected. And as a one-off, I quite like it.
Yeah.
Quite like it.
I hate that he's become a bit of a Pogba. Where he
know what you mean.
Come out on his day merchant, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a Man United effect though, man.
Yeah.
They ruin players.
Yeah.
They ruin great players.
This was world-class talent.
Mate, when he was at Borussia Dortmund, like everyone was saying, like, this is the guy who is going to take England to the top. What happened, man?
Him and Erling Haaland, literally level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like the face of... He was arguably the face of football in many ways. I mean, he was on the front cover of like FIFA games and like everyone was talking about him. His like market value was like over 100 million. Like this was one of the most premium players in world football. And
now he's a differential of the
week. now he's the Gameweek 16 differential of the week on a crappy FPL podcast. How the mighty have fallen.
All right. Well, me on the other hand,
yeah,
I've picked Clover.
And this is why we were speaking earlier.
4.4% odd penalty merchant.
Penalty merchant, my
friend.
And
West Ham, you know, maybe they'll concede a few penalties.
That's what you're gonna need.
Yeah, because there's no other route to points.
Not really with this guy. Not really. Like people are picking him. In fairness, like 4.4% selected is no joke. So people are picking up this guy. But it's like people who don't do their research before picking their players for the week.
Some people really think he's a good option, though. I mean, I'm not one of those people, but
you're not. No.
But I think he's an interesting pick. He's like a Evan Nilsson, you know what I mean? It's an interesting pick. You'd never actually pick it, but you'll ponder it.
I mean, I've never picked Sancho in my FPL team, to be fair, but that's the fun of differential of the week, right? But he could score a penalty. It could happen.
You know what? Maybe he'll score a non-penalty goal.
I doubt it.
Let's go through the team so far. So, you were very curious about my team.
Yeah, man.
Ask away.
What, like, okay, right. Game week 15, what happened? Like, I have an idea in my head of what happened. Mm-hmm. I think you benched Mbeumo. Mm-hmm. I think you captained Salah. Mm-hmm. I think you overslept on Saturday. Didn't make any... did you make transfers?
No.
Didn't make transfers. And then got the great fortune of having Palmer as your vice captain. Now, if you I don't know, but what time? The news was pretty early. It was like 7 a.m. or something dumb like that. It was early in the day. I set an alarm because I'm a weirdo. But like if you...
Set an alarm for an 11:30 deadline?
Well, no, I set an alarm like hours before the deadline because I wanted to see if the game was going to get postponed or not. Because I heard murmurings the night before.
I did see those, yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm going to get up nice and early for this one. But anyway, if you knew that the Liverpool game was going to be off, would you have captained Palmer?
Yeah, my vice captain was on it.
Yeah, I know that, but I also know you, and you do like an opportunity to go different.
Interesting.
We certainly wouldn't have played Mbeumo.
I would have. Who else would I have played?
You would have played Salah instead of Mbeumo.
I did play Salah.
Okay, so who did you have benched for your auto subs?
Mbeumo.
Right, okay.
So what's your question here?
So you've got a lucky sub.
Is that a lucky sub?
Well, there's some debate there because you could argue that, like...
What's the point of a bench otherwise?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you've got a strong bench, then, you know, you're entitled to the points you get from it.
Fixture congestion.
Yeah, okay.
I kept Mbeumo when a lot of people sold it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is more luck than skill.
I'll be deadly honest with you.
Yeah.
the plan was to roll my transfer.
Mhm.
The plan was to captain Salah. The plan was to vice captain Palmer. I set up my bus team very early in advance for these specific reasons.
Sensible thing.
And I woke up at midday.
Okay. What were your immediate thoughts? Were you thinking, oh man, I can't believe I have to play Mbeumo. He's terrible.
No. So,
Did you do like the panic? Oh my God. Who is my vice captain? Who is my vice captain? Did I set it?
Took me ages to realize.
Yeah.
So I woke up, started sorting myself out a bit. Then I realized I missed the deadline. I was like, what? I never missed the deadline. And then I check what my team looks like.
Yeah.
And Salah's on 0. I'm like, what? And then, because obviously by then Salah should be playing.
Yeah.
So then I checked the fixtures and the game's been postponed. I'm like, whoa. And then I thought, thank God I've vice captain Palmer.
Yeah.
And this was like before any of the 3 o'clock kicked off. So I was always going to captain and vice captain Palmer. So even if I had woken up, the same thing would have happened. Is my point.
Yeah, okay. That is absolutely 100% true.
I didn't roll my transfer. I rolled my transfer on purpose because there was nothing that I wanted to do. Like, pretty sure even from the last deadline stream, I was basically saying I'm going to roll my transfer.
Yeah, and you would have been happy to play Mbeumo in a bad scenario.
Yeah. I wouldn't have forced it because there was nowhere to go.
And you would have captained Palmer if not for Salah, which is kind of backed up by the fact that you did choose to vice captain him as well. Yeah, I saw a lot of people, by the way, like complaining to FPL saying like, "Oh, like I didn't set my vice captain. This isn't fair." Like,
that's your fault,
bro. What is the point of a vice captain?
Yeah.
This is the point.
Every single game week, I do my captain and vice captain.
It's like I think this is maybe a lesson for some people. I don't mean to like be like, now you listen here. This serves you right for misbehaving, but like it's part of the game. Like if you don't make your transfer in time or whatever, you don't say, oh, well, the deadline was on a Friday instead of a Saturday. I didn't know not to make my transfer. Like there's tools in the game to account for these scenarios. So
yeah,
sympathy is there, but like hopefully, yeah, you can't expect.
What's up with the bench? Why is Mo Salah in the goalkeeper?
Because the auto sub. It's just how Hub does it.
Yeah, I have work.
Oh my word! Once again, I thought we might go. We were almost finished the whole episode without you complaining about the graphics.
Yeah, but what? Come on, Mo Salah in the goalkeeper spot. The goalkeeper in midfield.
No, that's just the way they do their graphics.
All right, let's move on.
Wait, actually, your ranks increased.
My ranks increased quite drastically.
Yes,
I'm inside currently 800. Sorry, I'm inside currently the top 1 million. I've obviously got Cunha and Aït-Nouri playing. Really hoping for a bit of fun there because that could push me up into 700k territory.
Yeah,
really good game week.
Yeah,
and
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
In a rough game week, you've come up clutch.
Yeah, it's really frustrating what's been happening over the last few game weeks because some silly decisions have cost me a very good rank right now. But let's see what silly decisions I make next. So here's my plans at the moment. I've got 2 plans.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quickly read out my team for the audio listeners. I've got Raya in goal, Aït-Nouri, Timber, Rico Lewis.
Well, it's Mikalenko really because Lewis
is
unavailable. But Lewis can't play. He's suspended.
Right now, it's Rico Lewis in my starting.
Okay, sure.
He's going to be sold.
Right.
In midfield, I've got Cole Palmer, Mo Salah captain, Saka, and Mbeumo. Up front, I've got Cunha, Jackson, and João Pedro. Now,
okay. Salah captain. All right.
The plan at the moment is to definitely sell Rico Lewis. But no, I would be playing Rodgers over Mbeumo. Sorry.
Oh, would you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The plan is to sell Rico Lewis for definite. I've got 2 free transfers. I could also sell him.
Right.
The 2 options are Rico Lewis to Malo Gusto or Rico Lewis to Trent and then Mbeumo to Enzo.
Yeah.
That triples me up on Chelsea attack.
Don't hate it.
I don't hate it. I get Trent. I get triple Chelsea. Great fixtures.
You could always move like Jackson to Isak next week as well.
Definitely do that. I've got no route to Isak otherwise. There's no way I can sell Cunha, Jackson, or João Pedro at the moment.
Not ahead of these fixtures.
So it's interesting. That's something that I'm pondering at the moment. Unless I somehow find a better defender.
Kirkes?
Really could. No, not for me.
Okay.
Not for me at the moment. That's the route I could be going. And genuinely, I'm a little bit surprised by the number of benchings that Gusto has had recently. For some reason, I thought it was only the one. But that's kind of pushing me towards the Trent route.
I like the Trent route for you.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Think about it myself soon.
Let's move on. Tell us about your team.
Yeah, so like I feel pretty fortunate to have a green arrow because I'll be totally honest, my team kind of stunk. There was maybe some misfortune there. Verbruggen with a clean sheet up to like the 85th minute, but once again, Brighton just concede goals. I'm not happy with that. Kirkes, I thought, should have got an assist. No Gabriel, frustrating. Didn't have any Mbeumo points because I don't have Mbeumo. But in fairness, like Bruno versus Mbeumo, like Bruno has outscored Mbeumo since my wild card. So I'm not complaining too much there. But outside of that, like, where are the points? Jackson, who I transferred in last week or the week before, last week for Isaac, like, this is weighing heavily on me. Like, it's one of those things that I'm actually miserable about it. When I think about it, I just feel crap. And why did I do that? What did I think? I knew it was a bad decision and I did it anyway. What an idiot. But I did it. And I'm paying the price. So, like, it's frustrating. But because of the Palmer captain, it's a green arrow.
To be honest, I'm shocked you are captain.
Why?
It's just so on you. I would 100% expect you to go for Saka here.
Nah. No, I don't think so, because I think Fulham have impressed me recently. And I, like, as much as I am an Arsenal lover, I'm also a Spurs hater. Like, as much as I think Arsenal are good, I think Spurs are a genuinely terrible defense. And I know that is my bias to a degree, but I think they're awful. And I'm always happy to play players and captain players against them, even though they're like a red fixture or whatever. So I was happy to do that. But that was the saving grace, because outside of that, nothing going on. Maybe Nori and Cunha can get me a couple of points, but I feel privileged to be on a green arrow, if I'm totally honest. It's not even like a small green arrow either. I can't.
Pretty healthy.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm counting my blessings, if I'm totally honest with you, Sim. But anyway, let's move on to my team for Gameweek 16. We have got Verbruggen against Crystal Palace. It's not a bad fixture, but I don't trust Brighton even in these not bad fixtures. We've got Gabriel. I'm praying that he's going to be available. Hopefully you get more information on that, because I'd rather not go to my bench. But that said, I do think I do have bench cover in the defensive positions. Really like my other defenders, though. My cheap defenders, Kirkes against West Ham and Hall against Leicester. For cheap defenders in favourable fixtures, this is about as good as it gets, I think. So,
Nuri bench.
Well, yeah. I was running through this yesterday, and basically, Kirkes and Hall are better than Nori in 3 categories that are important to me. 1, attacking potential. So Kirkes and Hall put up better attacking numbers than Nori. 2, the defensive ability. So the ability of the team's defense. So Bournemouth and Newcastle are better defenses than Wolves. And finally, the fixture. So over the last however many game weeks, whatever example you want to use, West Ham and Leicester are creating less chances than Ipswich are. So, in every way possible that you will use to decide which defenders to play, Kirkes and Hall come out on top of Nori. I think that makes my decision for me.
Yet still, the predicted points has Nori higher than both of them.
Yep. That's the hub model, not my model.
I would strongly disagree. I think he's better than both of them.
Really?
Yeah. I think Nori. I don't think you can bench Nori in most game weeks just because of how attacking he is. I think he's significantly more attacking than Kirkes, more attacking than Hall. Maybe not significantly, but it's just that could be a huge return.
Yeah, of course it could, but
and I don't ever see like Kirkes and Hall putting up like 15 points.
No,
like,
because they're more assist guys than they are goal guys, and I think Nori is more of a goal guy.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know. You're cool, obviously, but for me, I would be playing Nori.
It would be Hall. I'm more confident in Kirkes than most other cheap defenders in the game right now.
Probably, but really, I'd do it over. Probably.
All right. Well, I mean, there's room to changed my mind. But
I see you're on Cole Palmer captain.
I am on Cole Palmer captain right now. I'm not set on that, but I'm leaning Palmer at the moment because I think Brentford at home is such a brilliant fixture. And again, like I just kind of mentioned with Saka last week, I think Fulham are like really good side. They impress me every week. And Salah is always a guy who kind of chances his luck a little bit with the FPL points. But I think
he does it so consistently though.
I know. It's like the most consistently lucky guy to the point where you can't even call it luck anymore. Yeah. But like Fulham, are they a side I think will make big mistakes? Are they the guys that give away penalties? Are they the guys that allow a quick counter-attack? I think their off-the-ball play is some of the best in the Premier League, Fulham. So I don't think it is straightforward. Salah captain this week. I think on paper, Palmer is probably the better pick, but that doesn't really account for the Salah factor.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Palmer has been a bit lucky over recent weeks.
Well, yeah, penalties. Like
he's had 2 penalties. I mean, it's not like Salah's not.
Yeah, true.
But I don't know. Just a little bit not very confident with Palmer. Bearing in mind, I'm a person who's captained Palmer for about 3 on a bounce now. So I've been watching him quite closely. I don't know.
Is it his positioning that you're not keen on?
He's not getting that many chances.
No.
He's not getting
crazy, that. But like a decent enough, right?
He's just not. He's just not getting that many chances. And like he seems to just not impact the game that much. But I mean, so does Mo Salah, to be honest. Mo Salah just seems to just get one of these huge chances in the penalty most games for some reason. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think this could be a painful game week for captaincy. Because
don't say that.
I think one person's going to smash it.
Oh please no! I would just take them both on 10 points right now.
Wouldn't, of course. That just means the decision means nothing, right?
Yes, I want that. I want my decisions to be meaningless.
But I don't know. It's a tricky one. I really hear what you're saying about the Fulham game.
Who is more prone to a mistake? Who is going to allow the more chances? It's Brentford.
Yeah, it's Brentford at home.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Palmer, Salah, Saka's in there. Bruno is also in there against Man City, which I don't hate that much. Like, you'd play Rodgers over Bruno against this Man City side. Ugh, maybe, but probably not. I prefer Bruno to Rodgers. But anyway, I think Rodgers may be rotation risk. We'll see what his midweek minutes are like. Cunha, Jackson, Pedro up front. On the bench, Fabianski, Rodgers, Aït-Nouri, and Dudadinha.
Solid, very good team, to be honest with you.
I won't say that every week, but solid team don't get you the points necessarily. I think I am really tempted to move Jackson to Isak. If I don't do it this week, I will do it next week. I've got 3 free transfers, so I think I can afford to make a luxury move. I mean, Isak to Jackson was a luxury move in the first place. I think I just reverse it. Like, I could be really proud here and say, no, the Jackson will come through eventually. But I'm honestly not that convinced. Isak looks brilliant at the moment, and Jackson, even against Spurs, like, the opportunities were not as much as I thought they would be.
Do you think you can end up hurting yourself more?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, this could go very, very badly. And like, imagine if I managed to dodge all of Isak and Jackson's points for like the rest of the season by continuing to swap them back and forth. Like, that could totally happen, and I would be so miserable.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna be miserable.
Interesting. We talked about this though. We talked about it when we were talking about the Isak to Jackson move. Yeah. That you had the luxury to go back.
Yes, exactly. And that was always in my mind when I made the move. If it goes wrong, I'll go back. But when I was imagining that, I was more imagining like Jackson getting a yellow card or Jackson's form dropping off massively. Because he didn't play against Southampton, it's difficult to say whether his form has or hasn't dropped off, which makes it a little trickier. His data isn't special, but it wasn't before. It was just a brilliant pair of fixtures, Southampton and Spurs, compared to Newcastle against Liverpool and Brentford.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jackson against Brentford is fine. Like, this is not a priority move. People will be making this move.
Jackson's just fine for ages.
Yeah.
Like, he will get points.
I don't love him against Everton. I think that's a poor matchup for him.
Fair enough. I don't know. I don't think that's true.
Well, Everton are just going to sit back.
But Jackson's not just a player who plays in behind. He's not like he's really good poacher. He's really good at getting second balls. He takes lots of shots, so he can get lots of assists. Like I don't think it's true to frame it in the sense of he's just gonna get like in behind when he's got lots of space to run into.
But I don't know how much of the ball he's going to get against Everton. I imagine it's going to be more like Enzo Palmer, and then the wingers try to get the ball into the box, and they'll be having the most of the ball. I can imagine
who'll be in the box.
Well, it's going to be. I don't think the ball gets into the box. I think it gets knocked back out to the midfielders again, or shot across or ball across the ball and it finds the back of the net somehow. Maybe Jackson is on the end of that, but yeah. I think Jackson is one of the less important players in that game, and they are going to be more reliant on the players around him really to make an impact.
Yeah, interesting. I think for me, I don't know if I'm going to make that move just because of. I don't know. It feels sideways to me. I feel like they'll both do decent. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unless it's like somehow DCL versus Wood type of thing. Gameweek 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's one of those, I reckon there'll probably be like 6 to 10 points in it between either over the next 10, for example.
Yeah, it should be close. I think I do prefer Isak over the longer term. Yeah. And I do think that's a place I'd like to go. But with 3 free transfers, do I make that move this week? Or the alternative is to pull some money out of Bruno and maybe go for another Arsenal defender. Now, I've got too many cheap defenders, as we kind of discussed already. So it would be Verbruggen to go to Raya, I think. So, for Bruno to Enzo, Verbruggen to Raya is another move on my mind as well. So I think I'll either do that or Jackson to Isak. I could do all of it. 3 free transfers, I could do all of it. But I don't know. It feels a bit losing all of your transfers in one go kind of feels.
I've seen you spend so much time collecting.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Alas, we have come to the end of the show.
We have. It was a wild ride, a wacky ride.
A wacky ride.
You did quite well on the buttons today.
You know what?
Brilliant. Yeah, that was a good, a little musical outro.
I'm dying to do that.
Have you really? Yeah, probably.
Sorry, Jesse.
Editor's not going to like that.
Alas, Dan.
What?
Why don't you give us your final words?
No, we don't do this. This is not how it works.
What's your final words?
I don't have any final words.
Give us some final words.
All right, okay. If at first you don't succeed, a bird in the hand is a friend indeed.
Is that real?
Yes.
I don't know that.
Think about it. It's a thinker.
Feels a bit weird.
It's a thinker.
Good night. Catch you next week.
Bye-bye.